Miracles can happen when we focus on the most important things in life. I'm glad that you're back for another session of Fundamentals of Parenting. And if there's one thing you can count on in life, it's distractions. Life and society tend to fill every crevice of our attention with something. A place to go, a person to talk to, something to do. But when I stop to think about it, are these things the most important things to do? If you haven't seen this video, I highly recommend you take a few minutes to watch it. I know, I just talked about being distracted and now I'm giving you a YouTube video to watch, but I promise this is important and it will give you a particular perspective on being focused upon the most important things. I will put this in the podcast description and I will put this link in the YouTube video. But watch this video. Watch what happens and it will make sense. I promise. Okay, I've got a story for you today. A few years back, something strange and I'll say wonderful happened to me in my career. And if you don't know, I've been a professional illustrator for 36 years, and I've also been building a fictional world for my kids and yours since 2005 called Wanted Hero. Well, my wife and I were being hit with all sorts of challenges when it came to our family. Most of it was dealing with new relationships, schooling for the teens, and dealing with a slew of illnesses. In fact, we just buried both a dear friend and a family member within 2 months of each other. The whole household was at a low, and my own health was starting to drop. I spent many nights worrying about how my kids were doing. Kathy and I talked until late into the night about how a certain child needed more attention, while another just wouldn't talk to us and was struggling in nearly every aspect of their life. My biggest stress was making sure the bills were paid, so we had a roof over our heads and we could live indoors during the winter. Then it happened. Someone noticed the epic size of the Wanted Hero world, and they noticed how I was weaving an entertainment web that would cover the globe given time and effort. And I got a surprise visit from an executive of a company that I'm not allowed to name. I felt a bit intimidated, sitting exhausted in my worn jeans and a smiley t-shirt, looking across at this clean-cut older gentleman dressed in a fine suit. In the midst of all the chaos, where I was struggling to provide for my family, and every waking hour was consumed with being there for my children and helping them through these difficult experiences, I was offered $1 million. That's right, $1 million for the exclusive rights to market Wanted Hero as it stood up to this point. Now, that was 9 books, 13 comics, 2 graphic novels, a game, posters, t-shirt designs, and an online interactive world where I've been uploading about 3 million words in notes. That's what I had. And here, I thought I'd feel like the weight would have lifted from my shoulders, like all this pressure would just go away. And it didn't. Instead, I felt like a 50-pound bowl of water was slammed down on my lungs and I struggled to breathe. I would also be required to work harder than I'd ever worked before, though this guy didn't know how hard I worked day in, day out, so whatever. That included spending far less time with my family, and most of that time would be away from home. That wasn't a bad thing in some instances, but I chose to work at home so that my family could have access to me. This is what I've always planned. So I could be there for my wife, and especially so I could be there for my children, who needed me now more than ever. And then I thought of my why. Why did I choose to be a father? Why did I choose to work from home? Why did I take the career route that I did? Because That was the best way for me to be the father my children needed. And it was the best way to be the father I was meant to be. Thank you for this offer. I'm grateful, but I'm going to have to pass, I told him. The man, oh my goodness, he looked at me just stunned. Pass on $1 million. And I nodded weakly. Yeah. You want some time to think this through? That's a lot of money, and I think we could take this places you never thought of. The bowl of water slowly rose from my chest as I thought about this, which told me that I was taking the right path. It's not worth the effort it would have on my children, me being gone and losing focus on what's most important to me. That's them. He opened his mouth, but I raised my hand to interrupt. I really am grateful, but I promised myself I'd never do an exclusive for anything. I've never known where the blessings would come from or the relationships. If I took your offer, I wall up any possibilities of the true success I fully expect to have. I felt good about that decision too, really good, especially since my parenting why blazed like a beacon in the back of my mind. Turns out this corporation wasn't the right group to work with after all. The words this executive used at me on his way out would have not passed my PG-13 standard rating. The why. Either your efforts to raise your children in a specific way are worth it, or they're not. Only you know the answer to that. But I'll tell you from personal experience that life is going to throw some serious curveballs at you. You won't know when, you won't know how, but count on it hitting you hard when you least expect it. And it just might make you consider compromising on the values that you've chosen to live by. Be careful. Be careful. I'm not saying not to choose another path. Only you know that. For me, it wasn't the right choice to make because it would have completely changed the kind of father that I wanted to be. But that's me. And we're talking about you. I'm saying that I strongly encourage you to take a step back and take a closer look at your why in situations like that. And then weigh and consider your options. I think the worst word in the English language is compromise. It always feels like I'm giving up on what I shouldn't. Personally, I prefer the word agreement. I'm not willing to compromise, but I am willing to come to an agreement we both feel good about. Never compromise your why. The how. This is about your nature and your habits, your determination to be the parent you want to be and to raise the kind of child you outlined in your why. The key is to be thoughtful. Don't rush in to make decisions. Strive to weigh and consider any long-term decisions you make, and pay attention if these decisions will change the way you raise your child. Conclusion. You've probably noticed by now that parenting takes a great deal out of us. It takes a lot of thought, takes a lot of planning, and especially consistent follow-through if we hope to raise the children we want. I will say this once more, and will continue to say it over and over for the rest of my life. It's worth it. It's so worth it. You've got this. So what to do next? Now is a good time to do a retrospect over the past month. Are you on top of your goals? How are your relationships coming along, both with your children and your spouse? Consider taking some time to focus on them. Let them know that you love them and tell them what you're proud of them for. Forget the negatives this time and just focus on the good they do and let them know that you noticed. Trust me on this. And that's it for today. I'm excited for you. I bet you're doing amazing. Absolutely amazing. And your children are like wanting to build an altar in your name. Keep going. Keep going no matter what. Don't give up. Don't give in. Keep your eye on the prize, and that's the wonderful children that you have and the wonderful children you want to raise. And I'll see you next time.